Listen, I would have had some dad jokes prepared, but Dwayne Johnson stole all of them in Jungle Cruise. Hey guys, welcome back to Canon Cinema. I'm Amanda, otherwise known as AMX ND Reviews on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd. Today I will be reviewing the new Disney film Jungle Cruise. I had so much fun with this. Also, it was my first in-person screener ever. So shout out to Disney. Thank you for the opportunity having me watch it on Monday night. It was an absolute pleasure. It was a blast to sit in that theater. Now, Joan Collet-Serra, who is the director of this film, did a fantastic job bringing this theme park ride to life. And I think that's the most impressive thing about this film, is that we all know that this is based off of the theme park ride. I don't think I've ever been on the Jungle Cruise, to be perfectly honest, but this movie really just felt like I was on it, that I was a part of that little tour going through the jungle. It was a lot of fun in that aspect. The reason why this film is fun is because it pulls from adventure films that we all know and love. This genre, sometimes there are films that really hit, like The Mummy, Indiana Jones, and of course, my favorite, Pirates of the Caribbean. So those are all the hits. There are a lot of misses when it comes to these adventure films, but those three being like God tier top three, this is what Jungle Cruise pulls from, and it makes for such a fun ride, and it just made me feel like a kid again, and that's what we love, right? That's what we need. Another thing that really worked for me was that this is an original piece. It is an original concept, the story, all of that. We've been struggling with many Disney franchise films, sequels, all of that, remakes of beloved animated films and all of these live actions. So it was really refreshing to watch Jungle Cruise without any expectation that they're going to make a sequel, which I'm pretty sure they're going to. It's just very contained in their own world, and they just created this movie based off of the theme park ride. So really it could be a one and done situation. And that's why I was just so happy to be there and watch it and experience this. And that's something that I really appreciated going into Jungle Cruise. Now with Jungle Cruise, you may think watching the trailers that this is just going to be a basic adventure film, that they're not really going to do anything different with it. But I think that they did, even though they did pull from the three films that I said before. There were supernatural elements to this. There was plenty of lore within the jungle. And what they did in the first half of this film is that they kind of set up what is possibly out there, because Dwayne Johnson's character Skipper knows the river through and through, knows the jungle through and through. So he's the one who takes everyone out on these tours. So we actually get to sit there on a tour with him and his 50 million dad jokes, which were all perfectly timed and delivered. So shout out to Dwayne Johnson, because I personally think that this is one of his best roles yet. This was such a fun role for him. One of my favorite characters for sure. He really played up on, the emotional side of his character. You'll find out later on what that is. I will not spoil Jungle Cruise for you guys, but it is a great moment afterwards. So it was really cool how they kind of peeled that back slowly, and then that reveal in the third act was really awesome. So I really enjoyed that. The Rock really just brought this level of charisma and energy that carried this film, with Emily Blunt as well. We can't forget her. She's very spirited, and you see that on screen as well. So she has this edge to her, but she's also very sweet at the same time. So it's a great combination. You see both versions of an adventure. You see someone who knows everything, knows the lore, but stays away from it. And then you have the complete opposite end of the spectrum, wants to go out there, wants to experience these things, and wants to see everything for herself. So the story feels simple, but it did get a bit jumbled at times because of how many players are in this game. Pacing was a bit off at times, and there were too many things happening. When people think of an adventure film, as the film goes on, as the film progresses, it just needs to get bigger and better and bigger and better. So if you start off big, there's like nowhere else to go. So it was really hard to top certain action sequences that they did. The first half I found was a lot stronger than the second half. There were good moments, but the third act was just really it felt long to sit through. So it is set during World War II. Our skipper, Frank Wolf, played by Dwayne Johnson, has to transport Lily Houghton, which is Emily Blunt, and her brother McGregor, who is played by Jack Whitehall, who is hilarious in this movie. Definitely a highlight. And they have to go find this tree of life. Now, this tree of life does have supernatural elements. There are these buds that apparently have healing powers, and Lily thinks those healing powers will benefit modern medicine, which is a beautiful thing. She's really doing it for the people, and I love that. There are plenty of obstacles that they have to go through. Turns out that all the mythology that the skipper says on his little jungle tour comes true. All of that stuff is true, and it's just really interesting to watch. Again, I'm not spoiling Jungle Cruise, but it's just a lot of fun. The action scenes at the beginning were really fast paced, and it was like surprise after surprise after surprise, which really keeps you engaged, and that's great. Some things that I haven't like seen before as well, so that execution was really strong. The practical effects were better than the special effects. That's the peeve that I have with this film, is the CGI was just not clean. It wasn't polished enough for my liking. I did think, again, the first half, and I don't know if this is only me, but I've noticed that the special effects in the first half of films are always stronger than the third act, and I don't understand why. Like, why do you just stop, or like why does it get worse? I'm very concerned because it's been happening more and more and more. Maybe because more projects are depending on the CGI, and that's why it kind of looks wonky after a while. The cast is really strong as well. You have obviously Dwayne Johnson and Emily Blunt with electric chemistry, really good banter. They also had a very strong emotional connection, and that kind of spark on screen is rare nowadays, which is really weird. So yeah, Dwayne Johnson and Emily Blunt had great chemistry. They were the glue of this entire thing. Jack Whitehall had some stellar moments. He's hilarious, and the comedic timing was just spot on. The three of them had a really strong dynamic, which really worked. We have Jesse Plemons in a villain role, which I feel like he was a bit underused, but again, hilarious. It looked like he had a lot of fun with that. And I cannot forget to mention Paul Giamatti, who is a businessman straight up yelling at everyone and everything. So he got the job done. I was dying of laughter. He was so funny, and it was great. They all had their time to shine, but again, I do think that Jesse Plemons was a bit underused, but it's okay. It happens. It happens. This movie has a runtime of 2 hours and 11 minutes, so within that time frame, the focus was really on Dwayne Johnson and Emily Blunt, but I wasn't complaining because they were really cute together. It really worked. It worked more than I thought it would. It's an original piece from Disney. It was refreshing. It was a fun live action. And I just had a big fat smile on my face. I was beaming, and that is the most important thing when going to the theater. You don't want to spend that money and then just be unsatisfied with what you watched for $20. You don't want that. So if the trailer didn't really do anything for you, I'm telling you, as someone who had no expectations going into this, I ended up having a very fun time. I was laughing. There were great comedic moments, great heartfelt moments between friends, between people who feel like they didn't have anyone else in the world that understood them, and then they find each other. I love those kind of moments in films like this, and Disney does it best. Jungle Cruise is a lot of fun. It comes out tomorrow on Disney Premier Access and in theaters. I would push to go to the theaters just because you need to see this adventure film on the big screen if you can. If you have access to a theater, if you can, please go to a movie theater to watch this. The bigger, the better. It's just a lot of fun. And I hope you guys won't be disappointed. It's just a really entertaining adventure film. It brought me back to, that feeling when you're just sitting there watching a movie and you're just amazed with everything that's happening on screen. It'll take you back into that 12-year-old kid, and I think that's awesome. That's really something special, and again, Disney can do that with some of their films, not all of them, so this is one of them. Very refreshing. So I did give Jungle Cruise a 3.5 out of 5 on my Letterboxd. Again, I had fun. Story's a bit jumbled, CGI's a bit wonky, but it was a good time, and that's what we need. We need some joy, we need some love, and we just need some more Disney magic. So that's what I loved about Jungle Cruise. If If you guys enjoyed this review, please like and subscribe. You can always find me over at AMXND Reviews on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd. I'll be chatting about Jungle Cruise this weekend. I will also be chatting about The Green Knight from A24 this weekend as well. I'm very excited. That review will be up on my website as soon as possible. I'll catch you guys next time. Keep watching movies.